Over the last few months especially, I have spoken words of encouragement and affirmation and praise to myself aloud. I spoke boldly and from my heart's fire, and let me tell you, it paid off. Today was a chain of emotionally taxing events. First, I went out for coffee with my friend who suffers from chronic depression, which had its own influence on me. Then I had a nosebleed in the coffee shop. When I got home, I wrote to my sister about my past woes. After that, I read my past journal entries from a time when I was very depressed. As if that wasn't enough, I wanted to cheer myself up by reading a good book. But the passage from the book that I read actually pissed me off and made me feel worse. Only after stopping work on the game I was making to reflect, did I realize the cluster cuss that I had just been hammered by. No wonder I was depressed. I remember the moment I stood up and focused my mind on the words of affirmation, encouragement, and praise that I had established a habit of speaking to myself. I could feel an energy coursing through my body that was not there before. It was as though I was warping through time and space, and a power was reawakening in me. All those things I had heard, that I had told myself with such passion, often dancing while I did, were flooding back, piercing through the darkness. Self-talk really does matter. In fact, if you don't practice it already, then you're missing out and you have no time to waste. Self-talk tip number 1. Don't half-ass what you tell yourself or how you deliver the message. Speak aloud and really mean what you say. Don't say, I look okay, when you could say, I am so beautiful. It's understandable that you won't feel comfortable saying such bold things when they don't feel true, but that's because they're not familiar. Of course, the reason it's not familiar is because you're not used to hearing or speaking those words. Here's the thing. I've read a lot of books, and when all is said and done, I remember what really speaks to me. But I don't always remember where the quotes come from. But I don't have to remember where a quote comes from to feel encouraged by it. The point I'm making is that although talking to yourself sounds silly, and people might think you're a bit strange for doing it, it works. Getting back to what I was saying about what feels familiar, at first, talking to yourself will feel scary and unnatural, but with practice it will become a habit, a familiar habit. I especially double down with my self-affirmations when I'm taking my daily cold shower. I say things like, I am almighty, and I am the king of awesome, and I am so strong. The key is not just to mouth the words, but to let loose your feelings. Believe me, I know that every thought in your mind and bone in your body will be screaming at you that this is stupid and won't work. But just ignore them, 'cause they're wrong. You may have just said to yourself, I could never do that. If so, then you have added another I could never do that quote to your mind's 24/7 playlist. That's a pretty counterproductive move if you ask me. Another thing to keep in mind is that neurons that fire together wire together. That means that the situation you speak a word of discouragement in will trigger that same word of discouragement to replay when you enter the situation again in the future. This is why you don't want to verbally discourage yourself, especially when you're anticipating doing something difficult and important. It's also why you won't receive much benefit from words of self-affirmation unless you utter them while taking on something uncomfortable that genuinely challenges you. If you reassure yourself only when you're comfortable, you will learn to associate relaxing with words of encouragement, which is good and all, but won't really help you push through the emotionally challenging issue you have yet to deal with. And if you are procrastinating on doing that one thing, it's going to be harder and harder to believe yourself and stay calm. That said, it may help to start with a relaxed meditation and self-affirmation and then practice bringing that positive mindset you cultivated into more stressful situations where you could really use it. So to summarize, speak words of affirmation to yourself every day, be loud and bold, meaning what you say, and speak while facing your fears in your mind and in real life. If you do this, you are building a powerful new self that will grant you the power to stand strong where you would have crumbled before. That's what just happened for me anyway. I hope this helps you, whoever you are, and until next time, remember, you are the main character.